Hello class, Mr. Garino here. In this video I'm going to show you how to include your animations onto your animations webpage for your website. So of course there's 5 pages. We have our home page, which we call index.html, and I made memorable movie quotes, video games, and I didn't actually make sports, but I set up a sports page. Please don't make the same 3 pages I made. Everyone should have a home page. So let's take a look. Everyone should have a home page, an animations page, and then 3 other pages. Don't do the same 3 I did. If you like video games and you want to do a video game page, that's fine. But don't also do memorable movie quotes and a sports team, because then you've done the same thing I've done, and I want everybody's website to look different. So here's things, animations that you made, and then things that interest you. Don't do animations you made and things that interest me. Thank you. Okay, so let's get on with this. Notice I can see the extensions here. So I put that on. If you don't see the extensions, you should check this box up here. You go to View in Windows Explorer, click File Name Extensions, and then you can see them. It's very helpful when you're designing a website because you need to know the extensions of files that you're linking to. So to see them here is good. Alright, so now that we have that, I'm going to open up my animations page, and I'm going to edit that to include our animations. So I'm going to open with Notepad, and first thing I see is my title just says my home page, and I guess I want to say that instead of my home page, my animations obviously would make more sense. And then down in here, instead of welcome to my website, because we copied these pages from when we set up our first index page, but then we have to edit them. So this one's going to say, maybe check out my cool animations, or whatever you would like to say. And then we got some spacing, and then over here we're going to put in our animation. Now the animations we have are Flash animations, and we can't put Flash animations on our website. So here's the file to create an animation, or that I used to create an animation. Rather, one of my students used to create an animation. So I can't just link to this thing. It's not going to play. So I'm going to open that in Flash, and here's the animation that one of our students made. I kind of liked it. You've seen it before. It goes from his name to a bird, back to his name, and then of course it would repeat, or we do want it to repeat. So I don't really have to drag that back to the beginning. I just wanted to. So now, standard way to look at this is we do Control Enter. It creates a SWF file, SWF file. It's the output file that plays in the Flash player, and then we get to see it. And we can do that, and we can put it on our website. However, then you have to have the Flash player installed on your computer, and getting it installed on portable devices like iPhones or Samsung phones or whatever, not the easiest thing in the world to do. So if we export it or get it into a format that's supported by everything, then our website works everywhere. So rather than just doing the Control Enter, which is testing the movie, we're going to go to Export, and we're going to export it as a movie. But instead of as a default Flash movie, we're going to export it as a animated GIF. So an animated GIF is really a picture file. It works just like a regular picture, like a JPEG, as far as the HTML code to put it on your website. But it'll have animation built into it. It doesn't support sound, so this animation has no sound, so we're fine with this file type. But later, or any animations that you have that include sound, which you will have some, we can't use this format, we'll use a different one. But this is the simplest one. So for an animation without sound, let's use this. So animated GIF, not just GIF. Don't choose GIF sequence, because then that creates a picture out of every frame. So you got 200 frames, you're going to have 200 pictures. It's crazy. So over here, animated GIF. And then just say save. And it comes up with, and I think it should probably come up with the same width and height as your stage size over here of your animation. So that's good. Just leave it. Over here you can see 0 to repeat forever. So the animation keeps playing. So leave that the way it is. Basically just leave everything the way it is and say OK. So if I go back to my folder, you'll see now I have a file called the same thing as this, but with a GIF extension instead of an FLA extension. So let's go put that on our website. The best way to do it is, of course, to start with our opening p tag, and then we're going to say image. And if you want to style it to the left, you could. I'm not going to waste my time typing that because I've got that somewhere already and you've done this already. So it's going to be style and then we float left. By the way, they're coming up with some new ways to do a lot of this positioning on websites, but it's kind of new and I didn't want to get into that just yet. So this is a little bit older style with the floats, but it still works for right now. So style float left, the margins top, right, left, bottom. No, top, right, bottom, left. And we might adjust that afterwards. And then of course, if we don't put the width, it'll be 550 by 400, which is probably going to be pretty big, but let's just leave it like that for now. Maybe we'll put the width and the height in later. And then we want to type source, src, quote, and then type in our file name. But I prefer, rather than type in the file name, just put another quote. And then come over here, click on the file, wait a couple seconds, click again to be able to rename it. I know some people like to right click and say rename. Either way, that gets you into the file name thing. You need to copy the whole thing, including the extension. So I'm going to click at the end and drag across. You can press Control C, or you can right click and say copy. And then come over here in between the quote marks, you can right click and copy, or Control V. So now you know you don't have a typo because you copied and pasted it. If you type it, you might make a typo and then it won't work. Okay, so then we're going to close our image tag, or we could put our, just in case it doesn't show up for someone, and just say my bird animation, and then close it. And then something inside the paragraph like this is an animation. Oops. I hate to hit shift. I made as a shape tween. And then close your p tag. And then we're going to save this file. And then come over here. It's at the top. Double click it. My bird animation. So there's the alternate text when the source file doesn't work right. So why didn't it find it? Oops, forgot an equal sign. Silly. So there you go. Whenever your picture doesn't show up, it says what this is supposed to be. Now let's hope it does show up. There we go. So of course I had to save the file after I hit the equal sign and then refresh the page. And I did not miss the equal sign on purpose just to illustrate the alternate text. I actually did just forget to put the equal sign. Okay, so there's your animation. Now to me, I don't know. I think that looks a little big for the size of this page. But it's a preference. But if you wanted to change it, we should know how to change it. We could put in a width and a height. And you know how I hate to type. So I'm going to copy. Put a space over here, paste in width and height. But if you remember, it was 550 by 400. So if you want to keep the same aspect ratio, divide by a number for both of them. And I know 550 divided by 2 is 275. And I know 400 divided by 2 is just 200. So if I save this and then refresh, so it makes it a little smaller. Maybe that's too small, you want to make it bigger. But go ahead, you guys know what to do to set the width and the height, your style with your float left to right, and your margins. Here's the source file and the alternate text. And then you close your image tag right here, and you type in whatever you want to be in the paragraph with the text floating around it. Okay, let's go on to the next thing. So the next one is, what if you have an animation that has sound? Okay, so we're going to open this one. Now this is my son's friend made this animation. It's only 170 frames long, so it's not too long. So I'm going to go File, Export, and of course you can see that it has sound over here. Here's your two sound files. So I'm going to do File, Export, Movie, but I can't choose Animated GIF or I'm going to lose my sound. So I'm going to come over here and choose Windows AVI and say Save. Now well, let me cancel this. If I click here, because I had to click in the gray, his is 550 by 400. When I go to File, Export, Movie, Windows AVI, and Save, it says 1000 by 727. Now, I don't know why it did that, but I think I would change this to the same size as over there. Notice it says maintain aspect ratio. So if I put in 550, this automatically pops up 400. And then the sound format, I don't know why it didn't come up automatically. I kind of thought it would, but usually something like this, 44-bit stereo, like the bottom one's the best. You probably don't even need that because it's a couple of silly little sounds. So maybe this one over here. And then say OK. And then if I go to my folder, so that's his animation with the sound. Okay, so now how do we get that in there? Well, web browsers don't support this AVI type file, so we have to convert it. So what we're going to do is we're going to open a file, a program from Adobe. So go to the Adobe folder and scroll down until you find Media Encoder. So we're going to change the file format. You can drag this over. You can click this plus sign and browse and go find the file. But since I'm right here, I guess I'll just drag it. Okay, and the format you want to choose is this H.264. And it's going to save it into the same folder where I opened it from, but it's going to be an MP4 now. MP4 is the standard format for videos on the web. All web browsers recognize that, so this is the one you want to use. Then just click the little play button here, and this is a short one, so it goes pretty quick. And when it's done, it makes a little noise for you. At least it did on my computer. It should on the ones that you guys are using. So then we're going to close this out. Don't actually have to close it out. And then you'll see here's the MP4 one. If I double click it, it opens in this other app, but it's the same sort of thing. Okay, so now how do we get this onto our animations page? We're going to minimize flash. Here's our animations page. We'll come down here. Maybe we'll put in some of these spaces. So let me copy that. Click here, paste it in. And then start an opening p tag. Now the code for a video file, because that's what this is going to be video space and controls, and then close the tag, and then open another tag and type source space src equals quotes, and then close the quotes because we're going to paste in the file name. And then after that, you want to tell it the type, and that's equal to video slash mp4, close the quotes, and close the tag. And after you type that in, you can put in the closing video tag. So slash and then video, just like most of the other things. And then you can type in some text like this is a stick figure animation I just felt like making. I don't know, whatever. And then close your p tag, and then don't forget to put in the video file name here. So I'm going to go over here, click, wait a couple seconds, click again, copy that with Control C, come back over here inside the quote marks, paste that in, and this should work unless I made a typo, which is very possible. Here's my animations, and you can see that this is really big. Okay, but it gives you the controls down here, so you can press the play button, and you can adjust the volume. Okay, so that's an HTML5 thing. So just by saying controls, it gives you the controls. By saying video and then controls, and then here's your source. You got to tell it what type it is. It's a video, it's an MP4 video, and then you can put in whatever. But of course, that's way big. So let's style that as well. So after video and before controls, you can put in your styling, which I just copied and pasted because I'm typing enough here and I don't want you to watch me type too much. So we have style equals float left. Here's our margins, and then we put our width and our height. I think this one was 550 by 400 as well, wasn't it? Yeah, 550 by 400. That's because that's kind of the default stage, not kind of, that is the default stage size in Flash. So when people don't change their stage, you end up always getting 550 by 400. Unless someone remembers to change the size of their stage or wants to. So I'm making it half as big right now. So let's save this and open that up. Okay, and again, we can reposition this stuff around. You could even save this one as an AVI and then convert it to an MP4 so you can get the controls in there too. But this doesn't have sound, and just letting it play back and forth I kind of thought was fine. This one's kind of small now. I don't know why it was so big before. So, I don't know about you, but maybe I would make this, put it back to the 250. Should have been 275. Anyway, let's make it 550 by 400. Save it and refresh this. And that's probably a little bit better. And here you go. A little loud on the kick, I think. Okay, now the last one would be this fluffy animation, because everyone's going to be working on something like this. Okay, now this is a long animation, got a lot of stuff in it. A nice long audio file about someone's comedy routine, and it goes all the way out to here, 1550 frames. I don't exactly know why this happened, but he's got some text in his animation, and his animation is this. Let's just look at it real quick.
3 years ago, I bought a Beetle, not even thinking. I bought the car because it was affordable, economical, brand new freaking Beetle for like 17 grand. I was like, ah! First new car. I go to show it off.
And it's 1000 by 600 large or size of the stage. And what I found is when I export it as a AVI, I lose all my text or lose all his text because this is again a student did this. And the way that I found to get it back is to click on every piece of text I have. So if you don't have any text in your animation, you don't need to do this. But if you did put some text, you're going to need to do this to get it to show up. Click on the text, and we already know we can go modify, break apart, and that breaks it into individual letters, but I want shapes. Once they're shapes, it's no longer text, it'll show up in your AVI file.
I bought a Beetle.
Okay, so scroll through, I click here. Because text has all this type of stuff, it gets embedded, text just causes sometimes annoyances in Adobe Flash. So when you go to modify, break apart 2 times, it's no longer text, it's a shape, like this thing or this thing or anything you drew. So now it shows up fine. So I'm going to go here, modify, break apart, modify, break apart. So again, any text on your animation, break it apart twice so it's just a shape. And then just leave it alone. You can resave your animation if you want with maybe a new name, like maybe save as and then BA for break apart. And then take a couple seconds to save because it's pretty big. So now I'm going to go File, same sort of thing, Export, Movie, AVI, Save. What was his? 1000 by 600. It's fine. I don't really know why it decides to change this. And this one, it's already set up with the audio. Maybe that's because of the type of audio he got in, because it was true audio. Whereas in that zombies with the knife thing, it wasn't really audio as far as like a long regular audio file. It was just a sound clip, just of the kick. So maybe that's why this didn't show up. But if it's there, I would just leave it. Don't need to change it. And this 550 by 300, that's probably going to be okay. 1000 is going to be bigger than our screen, so maybe just leave it there and say okay. If it doesn't work out right, of course you can always go and do it again, make it different, fiddle with it, a couple iterations to get it right until you know what works best for you. This is a pretty big file, so it takes a little while. And once it's done, go back to your folder. And here we have that fluffy animation, AVI. If I double click on it and play it,
3 years ago, I bought a Beetle. Not even
you
thinking
can see
too
here's
hard.
the text.
I bought the car because it was affordable,
But there's
economical,
other text supposed to
brand
come out
new
here.
freaking Beetle for like
It
17
didn't
grand.
come out because I didn't break it apart. That's this
I
text
mean,
over here.
I bought the car because it was affordable.
So again, if you don't break it apart, it won't come out. And then you take this and you do the same thing as we just did with that Dean's Zombies uh, animation that had the sound in it. We use Adobe Media Encoder. Drag this into it. Make sure it's set to change it to an H264. Make sure it's putting it in your folder and then click the play button. And this one's going to take a real long time. So it looks like it's going pretty fast right now, but I think it's going to start to stall. Okay, so it finally finished. It does take a while when you have a pretty big file being converted. Anytime you do anything with video conversions, it takes a lot of processing power. My computer at home right now, when I'm making this video compared to the ones we have in school, um, my processor, my motherboard, my memory is all a bit older, quite a bit older than the ones we have in school, but I have a pretty good video card. So that probably balances it out so that they're about probably process the stuff about the same. So I don't know, that probably took over 5 minutes to do. So the point is when you do that, if you have a pretty big animation and it's taken a while, just let it go. Have patience. You can even minimize this and do whatever you're doing. When it's all done, it gives you that little noise, or you can just keep checking until it says done. And once it's all done, close this out. And now you'll see I have a fluffy video animation BA MP4. So to put that on my website, I think I'll just copy all of this, paste it over here, put in some spacing, and then just change it to this file. So that goes from here to here. And I got 550 by 400. It was 1,000 by 600. So if I divide by, let's say I divide by 2, it would make it 500 by 300. That's still pretty big. And obviously, instead of this is a stick figure animation, this is a fluffy animation. Save this and go back over here and open up my animations page. And here we go. Now, obviously, we want this border to be down more. You can fix that up if you like.
3 years ago,
Here you
I
go.
bought a Beetle, not even thinking. I bought the car because it was affordable, economical, brand
Adjust the
new
volume.
freaking Beetle for like 17 grand. I was like,
You could make
first
it
new car?
full
I go to
screen if
show
you
it
want.
off at my friend Martin's house. I thought it was nice. I pull up and
You can not make it full screen if you want, and you can pause it. So that's how you add your animations to your website. And of course, the whole website should be working then, because you can go to each one of your pages, and from any page you can go to any other page. Okay, so include all the really cool animations you make, and you'll have a great website. And once it's all done, I can put it on Garino Land so you can show it to the world. Thanks.